Joe?
Yes, thank you. I think I'll have two answers to that. Is one, you're not taking advantage of those programs and wanting to start doing business overseas or in the global market is not going to solve all of your problems. But I could guarantee you that it will impact your ability to compete globally. Whether it was Sandro Motor, who had a slide that says 95% of the world population is out there, but 75% of the consumer consumption power is outside the United States. So why wouldn't you want to take advantage of those opportunities there? So right there, you shoot yourself in the leg. But more important, the second part of it is that several of us are small businesses. We don't know those resources are available out there. And so because of that, we're restricting ourselves to just the US or just to our local market. But once you start understanding how you could leverage those resources and other businesses are telling you, yes, it is happening, it behooves you to take advantage of those resources. So I urge you, if you don't know about it, you're contemplating about it, you're on the fence about it, just give it a try. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe. Sandro?
Yes. We all, myself and the colleagues, were part of a process for the internationalization of small businesses. So each one of us help the small businesses in different aspects of expanding internationally. Why we are important as an agency, SBA, because just like poker, business requires money to sit at the table. And for small businesses, going to a lender and telling them that they have a business opportunity in a foreign country has a lot of obstacles because many lenders, for example, don't feel comfortable lending, providing financing for those type of transactions. So SBA takes away the worry from the lender in providing financing to small business exporters. So we are a key element in that process.
Absolutely. Dan, your thoughts?
Oh, did you call on me? Okay.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
Sure. Let me, I agree with all of the others, what they have said, but I will add that, if the resources that we all have, Enterprise Florida, SBDC, SBA, the EDC in Pasco County and other counties, all of us have things to contribute, a different piece to the puzzle. And one of the things that small businesses have a hard time affording is how do they approach all these markets outside the U.S.? It does cost money. And we have ways, especially with the grants from Florida, to reduce that marketing expense. But we also have a presence in those foreign markets. You've got Enterprise Florida with their own offices outside the U.S., and I encourage people to leverage that when they can. Then you've got our offices also. You never know who's going to have the context that will help you get the deal that keeps your business running. So it's just having those people on the ground in other countries is the angle I will take in my comments. Take advantage of that. You just don't know who knows who that might be very beneficial to you. I've run into it too many times to count. So make use of it.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. Before we go to Q&A, I just wanted to say a few words in wrapping and building on points that Dan and the others just made. I want to, again, recognize Commissioner Starkey for her continued leadership in this regard. Lots of friends in the room, veterans and things like my friend Deborah Wilkinson here, Steve McKenzie from the Tampa Bay EDC. You've all heard of Bill, our friends from LCDC. But the point I wanted to make is we come together as a community, we are much stronger. Individually, any company, any agency is isolated, lost, without all the information it needs to succeed. But what these leaders have done, what they've built here, evidence here today, is a community, an international community coming together to be stronger. And the economy here in Pasco, in Hillsborough, housing in this region is much stronger, much better off. The diversity of the individuals in this region, folks on the screen here, patching in different parts of the country, is extraordinarily strong. It provides a strength. So let's continue to act and come together as a community to help individual organizations thrive and prosper the way that we've done in the past and overcome the challenges of COVID and the ability for us all to be able to meet face to face. So with that said, let me open the floor to questions. Yes, sir.
Right. What are the products being exported from the Tampa Bay area? And what are the destinations of export?
Yes, so the question is, what are the destinations, the exports that come from this region? Joe, do you want to start off with speaking to that? Okay.
From the Tampa Bay region, I know there's a significant presence of food equipment manufacturing companies in this region. And so, let me go back and say, traditionally, the major markets would be Latin America, the Caribbean, because of proximity to those markets in itself. So I would say that. But because of the diversity in the manufacturing in the county, whether it's food manufacturing, pharmaceutical, aerospace, aviation, it runs the gambit of all of the state of Florida targeted industry sectors, information technologies, big business in this community, petroleum products as well. So I'm certainly sure that there are resources to provide you to drill deep down, but I think these are some of the top industries and markets that those products are good.
So, and speaking from my own experience, this is very anecdotal. Things that come to mind are add-ons. Secondary market for airplane parts, sanitary basic systems, garbage trucks, things, pool parts, things that run pool pumps, and services. The one that comes to my mind, I was in Casablanca, Morocco, and I was talking with a fellow who was a phosphate engineer, and I said to him, "Do you have any offices outside of Morocco?" And he said, "Actually, we're based outside of Morocco." Where? He said, "Lakeland, Florida." I said, "Holy smokes, that's where I'm from." So we have a diverse set of goods and services that are provided from this area outside. I don't know if anybody else on the call wants to address that question. Types of goods and services that are exported today. Okay, any other questions? We've got a microphone here. Don't make me call people.
Are we going to have access to the presentation?
I believe so. For the presenters, would you all be able to make your presentation available for individuals along with contact information?
Yes.
I'm seeing nods. Yes, we'll do that. Make sure that's facilitated. Any final questions? Bill?
So many great resources represented here today. I'm just getting started.
Yeah, so that's a good question, and Joe, maybe you can address that. I would start with my local community, and then from there, so we have Global Tampa Bay, Jenny for PASCO County, so she knows who to get in touch with. It makes no sense going straight to Dan Bijou if his resources would not support you. Or likewise coming to Enterprise, Florida, if you could just use something at the local. So it's advisable that you start at the local level and then it moves up the channel. Thanks.
Now, I know we got limited time. I'm going to share one little anecdotal story as to why it's important to get good advice. So I was in Santiago, Chile at the ambassador's house, and the ambassador was fairly new to the office. And I asked the ambassador's wife how they were getting along in their assignment. And she said, "We love it, it's fantastic. It's right around the holiday time." She said, "We have a 12-year-old daughter, and we have this tradition of putting Starburst candy canes on our tree, and we can't find any Starburst candy canes here in Chile. So I made a note to myself when I came home. I went to Walmart, I bought a couple of 20 packs of Starburst candy canes, put it in the bags, shipped them there. I gave them my assistants and shipped these to the fast. When my FedEx invoices for the month came through my firm, there was a $1,200 FedEx charge. And I said, look, sometimes we ship boxes of documents, litigation, or deals, and so I said, well, look into this. What is this? Those, I think that's the candy cane. Well, the shipping was like $36, and import duties and fees were, and there's a reason why you can get Starburst candy. And when I asked, what I learned is when I sent it to that particular address, it's a Chilean address, it's subject to customs. It's a different way you can ship your Starburst candy cane away through the diplomatic channels that will not be subject to customs. So that was an expensive Christmas. Underscores the importance though of getting good advice and having the right team in place. I think we're about to go into a break, if that's right here.
Thank you, Ron. Wanted to, first of all, yes, look at him. I mean, have you written a book? No?
Not
You
yet.
should, you should. He has a lot of great stories to tell. How is everybody doing this morning? We gotta wake up, we gotta drink a little bit of coffee, so we're going on to that break, right? Among many accomplishments and things that Ron has on his file, in the state of Florida, we have close to 80,000 attorneys. He's in the top 50. So it is a privilege and honor to have you with us today, all of our participants. So this is called the PASCO. And Joseph, you are family, but you still get an appreciation gift as well. And our participants, virtually, we have something for you in the room. So we have that blessing to see you again, we'll be able to facilitate folks. I recommend that you get up, take that break, and we shall resume in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
community during special challenging times, right? I'm sure that everybody's trying to catch up and appreciating seeing people live and in person, not virtually. So you will have an opportunity to continue engaging once we're done and we wrap up. However, the next two sessions are going to add even more value to your time here today and to the time of the people that are watching us live streaming through YouTube. This next session is going to allow the diplomats that we're honored to have today as guests present and speak and discuss on some important subjects related to the trade topics and the international arena. However, for this session, we have another special guest moderating, and that is our own Deborah Wilkinson, founder of Wilkinson Global Connections. Deborah, since November of 2012, has been the executive director of Tampa Bay Trade and Protocol Council. She has been a blessing to assist us in facilitating the protocol services for our diplomats today. So we thank her for that. Deborah has been with the Tampa Bay Trade and Protocol Council as the international organization that promotes the Tampa Bay region internationally for trade and protocol. She connects our companies and institutions with international opportunities and educates the public on topics related to the international economy. She also partners with SBDC. She partners with U.S. Commercial Service, Enterprise Florida, SUS Japan, and other international entities that promote international business. And with that, I would like to call Deborah so she can take part and introduce our diplomats today.
That was very good. Together, and you say, oh my gosh, how many years have I been around? And I know a lot of you, like me, some of you have talked before. I love seeing you again, but not only seeing you again, I love the staff. You just stay there no matter what. So there's a couple of you that have had staff for many years. Also being in Broward County has given me that advantage as well. I still have a home in Broward County. Okay, now can you hear me? I'm sorry. What I would like to do today is I'm going to start out with introducing and giving you a little bit of background about our honorary consuls and our consuls and our consul general. And then I'm going to ask them to tell a little bit about them, each one of them. And then we'll go into some questions that we pulled together that we'd like to hear from and see what's going on and how we can hear a little bit of what we're doing, but how we can learn from what they're doing, and also how we can grow our business more really here and really here, and also how PASCO grows and how the whole thing. Again, I'd love to thank Jenny for really pulling a lot of this together, and Mr. Carlin that I've known for many years now. And because back in the beginning, as he said, and I had the pleasure of going in and I was deputy trainer in Washington. So that goes way back. So it was fun to see anyone who supported. Today I'd like to have our consuls come up, and I'm going to call up Consul General Andre Siegel of Germany here first. And then I'd love to bring up our Rodrigo Palestra, a diplomat of international business for Brazil. And I'd like to bring up Hector Palazzo. And he is representing today a very, very dear friend of mine, Consul General Salinas out of Orlando, Mexico. And there was an emergency that arose last night, and it was wonderful to be able to hear for him, and you'll hear a lot from him. And he has been not only what he's doing today, but he's been consul as well. first, I'm going to go ahead and read you a little bit of bio on Consul General. Consul General Andre Siegel is a clear diplomat with a broad range of international experience in strategic, political, economic, and cultural affairs. He holds both a postgraduate diploma of the College of Europe, Bruges, Belgium, and a master's degree in French, English, and American literature, linguistics at the University of Freiburg, Germany. Andres has had a long time connection and affinity with the United States. He was an AFS exchange student in Michigan during the bicentennial year 75-76. And in the early 1990s, he served as vice consul at the German Consulate General in Boston, Massachusetts. Before coming to Florida in July 2019, Andres headed the German Consulate General of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Prior to that, he was head of the Strategic Planning Division for External Cultural Policy and the Directorate General of Cultural and Communication at the Federal Foreign Office in Berlin. During his first years of his career, Andres occupied post, then Capital Bond, and Fleet Abroad. After 2 years of diplomatic training, he started off as a desk officer for Poland at the Foreign Office to move on to Boston, USA as vice consul. He then spent 3 years in Southeastern Africa as deputy head of mission and charge of back to Bonn. He worked as the federal chancellery, dealing with international strategic issues. Another assignment led him to Rabat and Casablanca, Morocco. We do have some synergy in the audience somewhere, where he served as head of the economic section of the embassy and consul general, respectively. So please welcome Consul General Andre Siegel from Germany. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about what your office is about, what you do here in Miami, and relate to us.
I think that's your mic. Okay. So here we are. Yes, and you just mentioned there is some synergy between Casablanca, and we heard something earlier on. Also, actually, in Ho Chi Minh City, it was the first time at a meeting with Enterprise Florida. Ho Chi Minh City, organized in 2019. So I was glad that this was sort of forecasting my work in the United States. The German footprint in Florida is actually quite strong. We have more than 200,000 German citizens, used to be German citizens, mostly dual citizens, living in Florida. There's about 400,000, 500,000 tourists coming to Florida, and Germany altogether in the U.S. and that is mirrored in Florida is a very strong job creator. The third strongest foreign job creator in the U.S. And that is also true for Florida, where we have about 30,000 more jobs created by German companies. And actually, here in the Tampa Bay area, about 6 German companies. So we're glad to have a representative of Enterprise Florida in Munich, who's sort of serving as a bridge between us. I still need to follow up with him to promote this, but I think that's a very good basis to promote trade and investment on both sides. In the consulate, we have to compensate a little bit for the lack of other institutions from Germany, because in other cities, more on the East Coast, we have also good institutes, language training and learn about culture. We also have a Chamber of Commerce in Atlanta, who's covering also Florida inclusive, but not represented in Florida itself. So we are at the consulate working in all these areas, of course, the consular area, but also promoting relationships with civil society and the cultural and tourism. I'm glad to be here today. It's my first meeting after 6 months or so of virtual meetings. So I'm very glad to be here today.
Thank you, Council General. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we have virtually, we have honorary council Norman King as well. Our next guest is Rodrigo Finesca, diplomat in international business and many years of experience as a diplomat and in other capacities. He also worked in the private sector. In that opportunity, he dealt with regulatory issues, risk analysis, besides business development. Currently, his mission is to promote trade investments between Brazil and the U.S., especially Florida, as you know, as head of the Economic and Trade Affairs Office of the Consul General of Brazil in London. And I believe the Consul General here is also the ambassador, correct? Yeah. I just want to make sure that's right. He has, as I said, he's got skills with being hands-on, very professional, and he's a wonderful person that travels the United States and he travels through Florida where needed, and is in content here today. Very exciting. So, would you like to say something?
Thank you, Deborah, for your kind words. Indeed, I have great pleasure in driving throughout this beautiful state and Florida, and I'm very glad to be here. I'd like to congratulate the organization of this event, for you, to Jenny, to Commissioner Starkey. Also, I'd like to make a reference to my dear friend, Sueli Bonaparte. I don't know if she's watching us on the web, right? She's the CEO of the Brazilian Florida Business Council, which is the Chamber of Commerce of Brazil in bilateral terms here in Tampa. And to be straight to the point, I'd say that I had the Trade and Economic Affairs Department of the Consulate General of Brazil in Miami. Our jurisdiction involves the whole state of Florida, plus Puerto Rico and the American Virgin Islands. As you know, the Brazilian community here in Florida amounts to some 500,000 people officially. We have the representative here of the Mrs. Corina of the Brazilian the Council of Citizens, right? Brazilians here in this region, and of those 500,000 Brazilians, I'd say that at least 75% consider themselves as entrepreneurs and as job creators, and they find in Florida a very hospitable environment to develop their entrepreneurial skills and their businesses. As you know, Brazil and Florida have a $21 billion flow of bilateral trade. This year is a very challenging year for all of us, and these figures might shift a little bit, but we are pretty confident that next year the high numbers of the Brazilian and Floridian trade will resume their growing path, right? In general terms, Brazil plays a very strategic, I'd say, role for Florida and for Florida's economy. Here we rank amongst the 10th largest investing country in the state. right here across the county, here in the Tampa Bay area, we have one of the largest steel manufacturing companies based in the United States, whose headquarters is here in Tampa. So we are very proud of this relationship, this trade and investment that intertwine us, Brazil and Florida. I'd like to mention as well that in our capacity, in our trade department with the Consulate General of Brazil, we deal with the attraction of investment into Brazil. And also we try to we promote the exports from Brazil into the United States through Florida. And last but not least, we emphasize a lot of strength on the task of helping Brazilians to open their businesses here in the U.S., especially in Florida. So I think this synergy between my department in the Consulate General in PASCO County and all of the speakers who were here before, presenting their features, presenting what Florida, Enterprise Florida in particular, and all the grants and the facilities that could be taken advantage of. It's important for me to promote that throughout the Brazilian community and among the Brazilian investing segments, right? And am I talking too low? Okay. And one thing, another thing that I would like to raise here is that Brazil and the US, we just signed this trade facilitation agreement a couple of days ago. I don't know if you're aware of that. It was very hailed as a very important step prior to subsequently, who knows, a more ambitious trade agreement, and we have very high expectations after this agreement, this facilitation, this trade facilitation, and good regulatory practice agreement is put in place. I can afterwards or some other occasion disclose more of that of this new agreement that has just been signed. We're very confident that this will boost even more the trade and investment flows between the two countries, with a particular impact here in Florida, and who knows on Pasco County and the whole region. So that's my take for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next gentleman we have here is Consul, Deputy Consul of the Consulate of Mexico in Orlando, and then it's Hector Peralta. The consul here, his duties include the general supervision of the consulate's activities, as well as to be responsible for political, economic, and trade affairs. He graduated from the law school in the University of Mexico City, has a Master of American Law from the University of New Mexico, is a career diplomat since 1984. Currently as the Minister of Affairs and Foreign Service, he has expertise in consular law, international trade, foreign investment, international private law, and corporate law. He has followed specialized studies in consular affairs and negotiations, international negotiations, trade promotion, among others. In the field of law, he is a practitioner and a law professor. In Mexico, he was the Foreign Affairs Secretariat and at Foreign Secretary's office. I'm sorry, I didn't have my phone. It's very small. He was Deputy General Director of Immigration after being appointed Director of Consular Service and my migratory services among the legal positions and legal areas of the Foreign Service Administration Department. So with that, I'd love to welcome Hector Peralta.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And first of all, I want to present excuses of conflict for not being here. We had an emergency situation at the consulate there in Orlando that arose at night. It was scheduled to be here. The type of problem happened and he has to cancel and he asked me to be. I really appreciate the opportunity as part of the Mexican consulate in Orlando, which is part of the biggest network a single consulate has in the country. Mexico has the biggest consulate network here in the United States because of the big population that we have. It is required to have this big network. Here in Florida, we have two consulates. We have the consulate in Miami, we have the consulate here in Orlando. The consulate in Orlando will cover Central Florida and North Florida. We think that the presence of Mexico here, in northern part of Florida and Central Florida, is not as significant as the part of the United States. In relation with trade, well, we know that Mexico signed in the 90s the NAFTA agreement that has been renovated, changing many things in this matter that became a new free trade agreement, the United States Mexico Canada agreement, USMCA, which it is a new deal trying to solve many issues that the NAFTA were considered needs to be addressed. Then we're thinking a new agreement that frames the trade relation between Mexico, Canada, and the United States. This free trade agreement maybe can represent the 15% of the trade international of the United States around the world. Just the border represent Mexico and the United States border represent $1 million a year. The significance is big, but here, the situation in Florida is not as big. It represents for the world. We think that here in Florida, we have a big opportunity to improve our trade relations. There are many complementarities. Of course, there are a lot of challenges as well. We know that, let's say, agriculture is an issue that needs to be looked with caution because they consider that Mexico is a big competitor in relation with agricultural products. But I can say the trade relation from Mexico and Florida has changed from a very basic exchanging to a more complex. We're talking about transport, we're talking about machinery. Agriculture, it is not in the first place. But it is important to have it in mind. Probably we're talking aviation, we're talking about many other products and interrelated product chains. That's why we're thinking in the Mexican consulate we haven't working the trade a couple of years, but we are trying to improve trade cooperation. In the Mexican consulate, Pamela is here. She's going to be dealing directly with this issue. She will try to improve all of the situation and try to solve it.
Thank you very much. So you can see that Florida is number one, it sounds like, on a lot of their lists. Not only that, but now we get into some of the fun questions and get into how your countries are handling what we're going through this last year, this last 8 months. So our first question, Consul General Siegel, how is your country boosting confidence in trade in global markets by improving transparency and about trade-related policy actions and intentions?
Well, this is a big question. I think one has to state first and foremost that Germany and trade are one. Germany is trade is the DNA of Germany, being in the midst of Europe with 9 neighboring countries. It is obvious that Germany is very much more than probably any other country on trade. So it is the interest of our government that borders remain open as far as possible, that restrictions on trade are minimal as far as possible, knowing that our small and medium business companies, they represent more than 90% of those who are exporting with trade. So it is essential to retain to have not only the functioning economy itself. One of the key issues in Germany over this past month of pandemic was to keep the workforce in place. Therefore, there is a specific type of furlough which actually is wage subsidy for the company. The company could get like the equivalent of 70% of salary of from the government in order to keep people employed at the company. They don't lose the job. And that has helped in a number of cases, particularly in the automobile industry, to ramp up the figures as for in September. Sales figures for automobiles in Germany were up to more than 12% compared to 2019, which is amazing. Of course, I can explain that also different parts, but well, that's just talking about the national issue. But as Germany is very much interdependent with other countries, Europe and worldwide, of course, there is a big impact on what is happening. And Germany, for example, transatlantic travel restrictions have been in place now for 4 months. That is a continuing issue of concern. I think as with here. But the fact is that this is also an issue of European consultation in the Schengen area. It's a common customs and border union of the European Union. They have to agree on a re-evaluation of the situation, which is taking place every other 14 days, evaluating the different destinations and countries, how the travel restrictions are going to be not. And one of the parameters they have agreed on is that if a country has more than 50 infectious cases per 100,000 inhabitants, this is considered this country. And therefore, the travel restrictions will remain in place. And unfortunately, that's still the case in the US. And we are seeing a second big wave in Europe as well. So now, unfortunately, is hampering a lot of normal business conditions. And one field in particular, or two fields in particular, one is tourism, in Florida and trade fairs also. Germany is a big organizer of trade fairs traditionally and has suffered from the absence of live trade fairs over the past couple of months. Yeah, and the last issue, transparency. I think the German government has early on succeeded in communicating the way forward in a very straightforward way. Even though we have the difficulty that is here in the US, that we have also state government, we have federal government, we have state competencies that also have some say in water issue. So this needed coordination, and this is still ongoing to avoid that you have different regulations everywhere, which are of course an impediment for companies to do business. You have different regulations in place. So, well, maybe I'll stop here. There are many more things to say, but the situation can be concerning and interesting as well.
Thank you.
Rodrigo, I'm going to ask you the same question. The boosting of the confidence of the trade in global markets. I know that Brazil's gone through a very heavy hit as well, and seeing how some of that trade is coming back, some of that investment in, how is that being transparent to the communities, to the companies, and not only that, are you seeing yourself in more of a virtual world?
Absolutely, yes. First of all, it's important to keep in mind Brazil is a global trader, right? So our partners are pretty much all over the world. So this, in a way, kind of played a role of a fallback position for those partners who could not do business with us during these first months of the crisis. Having said that, I'd like to mention that Brazil also had this PPP policy, which is being implemented until at least the end of at least December this year. So this, in a way, alleviated the impact and the negative reflexes on the economy, on the job creation market by the pandemic. Of course, we all felt hard the hit by the disease. Brazil is facing a very tough moment. I believe we are the third in this unfortunate ranking in terms of cases, right? But on the other hand, Brazil is also being a very active part of at least two vaccination studies and researches on a global scale. It seems that by December, the first lots of vaccines will be getting to the most exposed communities, the medical community, the first responders, the elder population. So we are struggling to overcome the problem, as everybody else in the world, but we are pretty confident that we resume having a pretty much normal, in this new normalcy, life in the first quarter of next year. You asked me about the adapting to this new environment in terms of business. Yes, we are doing a lot of home office. In the consulate, for instance, we have pretty aging population in terms of staff members, so we had to keep these people working from their homes and without stopping any time the assistance to the community, right? In terms of making the passports and the documents, providing the legal assistance in the case where it was is necessary. And so we did have this adaptation and adjustment in our everyday routines, but so far we are kind of, working in a slower fashion, but with good results as far as the public. I don't know. There's a representative of the community here. I don't know if she has any complaints. I mean, more than what I spoke about, but in general terms, that's how we are coping with it.
And Hector, same question to you. I know that you are new to the area. You're starting to ramp up because we had a conversation the other day. And you're excited to be out and about and that you wanted to be here because it was a hybrid type of conference. So again, how are you boosting the confidence in your country, and how is that being leading transparency and trade-related policy actions?
Well, confidence is a very important matter. If you don't have confidence in the partner, really sooner or later you will stop change. You have to have the confidence in quality, in procedures. There are a lot of those. Mexico, from the 90s, we understand or we try to understand that confidence is a key in trade. Okay, immediate change. That's why Mexico, for the last 30 years, has been involved in making clear and making this. Before I was talking about the USMCA, but as well, we are having a free trade agreement with the European Union. We are having with the Pacific Alliance. Let's say Mexico today has 13 free trade agreements that give access to 50 countries and give us access to a big portion of the market because we think transparency is a key element. All these free trade agreements, they have a chapter on transparency, on information, to make strengthen the rules, to establish the rules in the past. So when we get involved in international trade, you know what you will expect, what you will find when you are dealing with, let's say, labeling a product, you are expecting in the custom procedure, what you can expect in the integration of in the final product that you're going to buy. Then transparency and information, certainty is what you will need to buy. That's why we have all of this. Mexico is really continuously to interest to be close to this part of the process. That's why we Mexico on all these women, trying to keep them informed, trying to make a very clear procedure. We are working on seminars daily in Mexico. We are trying to promote for the Mexican producers. Okay, this is what they're good, that you have to follow. We are trying as well to be close with the possible partners, international partners, in order that they will be as well aware of what can they expect from Mexico. That's why at this time of this pandemic, well, really, well, when you mentioned that you will be hybrid seminar, it will be probably with presence here in the room, but as well broadcast. It is important, it is a new way to business. Every day, let's say, last night we received an offer to have a seminar on November that addressed to possible buyers to see coffee in Mexico. Okay, we are going to have this in the way in order that everybody has known the kind of packing, certification, everything in order that be clear about all of this. certification and all the information and be transparent on the different procedures. That's why transparency is important, and at this time it is maybe easier because we are going to make more close to the people using the technology.
Thank you so much. Because of time constraints, and I know that we've got another panel coming up after us, I'm probably going to skip some of the questions. But one of the last questions I want to ask each of you, make your remarks a little shorter on this, is what is your relationships between your trade relationship with Florida? How do you see Florida and your countries working together? That's not to talk about other states that you're not working together with, but how does Florida fit into your plans? And how are you going to do more exporting, more importing, and also collect more investment? Council General Siegel. If we can just hear a couple.
I made that remark that started at the beginning, saying that Germany has already on footprint here in Florida with jobs associated. Obviously, tourists were normally and almost contributing to the economy. We have we're participating also in some of major trade fairs in Florida, the medical trade fairs in Orlando. All that, of course, requires that we somehow get rid of this virus and get this way. But another thing I think we should have in mind strategically is that you have to prepare your workforce for the time after the pandemic. And in that context, we have to offer something in Germany that is our what's called rural educational planning, which we have some experience here already in the Tampa Bay region. And I'm currently working on the contacts in the Orlando region and to have a new impetus on that as basis for the time after the virus.
Do you see that maybe as an alliance with the surrounding areas? So they can come together as well and do a conference and symposiums and really get more of the communities involved. And I know that PASCO has been very, very strong in this area. And now that you're opening up these other areas, it's great if PASCO could really forge ahead and maybe an alliance that can put together.
Well, I'm happy to discuss that a little bit more in detail. It's quite complicated but one of the things that we need is a cluster of champions who want to do this. And if you don't have at least, let's say, 3, 4, 5 companies who want to do that, and with the cluster, it's already difficult. Then you need the school board to be on board. You need partner, probably community college, technical college, practical hands-on partner, and you need parents and students who are willing to accept that not the only path forward in the life to learn a job is via university. So I think all these issues we need to work with.
I'd love for you to share with the afterwards and speak to a couple of people that are here, especially Commissioner Stark will be with all afternoon. We've had some other trade representatives. I'm going to skip to a different question for you, if you don't mind, Rodrigo, and that is, out of all of this, are you seeing any types of new industries that are coming about?
Indeed, the first remarkable thing that came up to us in our department council during the first few months of the pandemic was that the inquiries about e-commerce platforms, about food exports from Brazil into here, inputs for construction, for reforms of properties. So, like the old cliche says, the crisis also brings about good opportunities. So we felt that in these fields, from the Brazilian standpoint, at least, in other words, technology, construction supplies, and food, we had an increase in the number of inquiries about pricing, about labeling, on the two ways. So I think those trends are here to grow even stronger from the times.
That's what we want to hear too, because as we have EFI and Board and with us, I know that they look at our targeted industries list quite a bit, and there are some good things that are opening up. We found that out just when we went to our toilet paper supplies, our sanitation, how our alcohol, our beer went to #1, and our exercise equipment, believe it or not, went to one and two, compared to some of the other things. So that really took into those types of activities and industries that we had been looking exactly for the PPE and with that said, and I know Hector, you have a lot that you're going to be telling us as well when we see you next time. So I'd like to ask if anyone out there has some questions. And the reason I'm asking you about your questions is I love how the introductions went. The introductions covered a lot that I was going to ask, and it went even further in detail on some of those. So with that, do you have any questions today? None. Oh my goodness. So if you don't mind staying a little bit afterwards and speaking to some of the guests here, that would be great. I want to thank you on behalf of the PASCO Economic Development and also as the protocol officer for Tampa Bay. It's been a delight. I think I have one of the best jobs in the world, and I get to talk to you often. And I think that this is a start, and we will start doing these kinds of seminars a little bit all over the state, but at the same time, really concentrate on what's happening here in our Bay Area. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Adam Thomas, he has some thank you gifts for the diplomats and also on behalf of PASCO ABC. Deborah, thank you. Thank you for your partnership. So now our Director of Stakeholder Engagement, Mike Bishop, who has the person behind the scenes with the technology, is going to be moderating the next panel, which is a very essential panel since it is the testimony of companies that have utilized these resources. It reinforces everything our panelists have been discussing. So this is an essential part, and we're going to have some PASCO companies and also and a representative from Amley Oil Company as well. So Mike Bishop is an entrepreneur by trade, but now he belongs with us at PASCO EDC. So we are blessed to have him, and I'll leave it with you.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Bishop, Director of Stakeholder Engagement. I'm going to take my IT hat off for a minute and come over here and monitor a great panel. Very excited about this one on small business. It's been a great program so far. We've heard everything. Services excited from the diplomats here, and thank you very much for coming. Great information. Now we can hear from the business. So I'd like to ask, let's see here, we get Brian Williams from Morgan & Company, please. Suzanne Colfer from Dixie. Yeah, please, go ahead. And also Mr. Colfer. Thank you. Okay, yeah. Take a seat right there. Thank you. Yeah, I think everybody talks loud about that. I just want to have a casual conversation. is how exporting has impacted your company, what steps you've taken, maybe some of the services that have been discussed already. What have you utilized? So, probably want to start maybe with Emily, a little bit about yourself, and throw it all together.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for the invite. I'm very glad and proud to be here. I am a Pasco County resident, even though that company I work for is located in Tampa. But I've been here in Pasco County for the past 7.5 years. Amalie Oil Company, it's very interesting. A lot of people really didn't know about Amalie, doesn't know pretty much about Amalie other than we got a very big sign in the Amalie Arena, and that we brought the Stanley Cup. So it's we're part of that. That's pretty part of it. So Amalie Oil Company is a family-owned company, owned by 4 brothers, born and raised in Florida. They started off their company in the petroleum industry, selling gasoline, and they started from 1 gasoline station to 2, 3, 4, 5, and make a long story very short, the company ended up by the name of Barquette Oil Company, and they had over 450 gasoline stations from all the way from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, even up to Atlanta, Georgia. So this company started fighting, obviously, little by little with major oil companies, penny pinching, sell me the diesel here, gasoline here. And they said, you know what? At the end of the day, in the gasoline stations, selling gasoline is not the profit. The convenience store is the profit. That's the milk, the water, the Cokes, the Doritos, and all the other products that they sell, and the top oil products that they sell: brake fluid, power steering fluid, motor oil. So that company that we're supplying those products was a company, a small company located inside the port of Tampa called Petroleum Patterns. The 4 brothers got together, said, you know what, I think let's get out of this gasoline business and let's go into motor oil. So they sold practically over 400, more or less, gasoline stations. They sold the businesses, they still owned the land. So they were able to buy this company. It was located in 4 acres inside the port of Tampa. And little by little, they kept growing by acquisitions, buying other companies. In the early 1990s, they went up to Shell and they said, you know, you have a lot of brands of oils. We want to buy one. And they had Shell, obviously, Kendall, Quaker State, and Amalie. Amalie was founded in 1903 by 2 brothers in Pennsylvania, and they liked the history behind the Amalie brand because it was a family-based company, and the name of how that Amalie came upon it was the grandmother of the 2 founders. The grandmother's name was Amalie. So they went after. They have a family company. Family rhymes with Amalie, so they went after it and they bought the company. So then, little by little, they went and bought all the companies in Orlando. Today, we have close to like 385 employees. I started with the company 6 years ago. We were 212 employees. Today, we have 385. The international headquarters is in Tampa. Our main production facility is in Tampa. We own 6 brands. We do 145 private labels, and we sell actually in 121 countries around the world. In a short note, taking advantage of the deputy consul from Mexico, I think he was cool. Okay. We have brands that people don't even know that where it comes from. But just to give a very short example, AutoZone. AutoZone Mexico has 650, almost 700 stores. Well, when you go to AutoZone Mexico and you buy their brand of oil, that was made here in Tampa. And AutoZone here in the United States is manufactured, their private label is manufactured by us. STP, for those who didn't know, it's also made by us. If you go to Sam's, Walmart, and you buy their private label called SuperTech, Well, that's also made in Tampa. And so this is part of the 145 private labels that we do. We also do toll blending for Shell. We do all of the marine oil for BP. Total, which is a very large French conglomerate. Well, every single packaged product for Total that is consumed in the Caribbean, Central, and South America is made by us. So that's in a nutshell, that's who we are. Nobody really knew until we started putting the name on the Amalie Arena here in Tampa, and still a lot of people don't know who Amalie is or what is Amalie, but it's really, really great. I started 6 years ago. I came as a European sales rep, and I told my boss, previously I was general manager of an oil refinery in Puerto Rico. So I told Harry, that's great, but to be honest, I work from an administrative standpoint in it's a hydroprocessing used motor oil re-refinery. So we were converting garbage, used motor oil, and bringing it back to its original state. And then adding additives, detergents, repackaging, and we were selling in 14, 15 countries. So a friend of mine said, Charles, I want you to be the general manager. I said, you gotta be crazy. I'm not even a chemist. I'm not an engineer. I can't tell the difference between cooking oil and motor oil. What am I doing here? So I had to learn the processes very quick. Long story, I was able to move out of Puerto Rico 7.5 years ago. I've been working for Amalie for 6 years. They gave me an opportunity to become European sales rep. Within the first 3 months, I became director of international sales. I am in charge of Europe, Middle East, Western Asia, Africa, India, and Australia. Well, I have 151 countries. I handle all by myself, and I travel extensively. And obviously, with the COVID situation, it has been very difficult for me to travel. But taking advantage of this presentation, it is literally impossible for any company. I don't care if you're small, medium, large, it doesn't matter. You will not be able to be successful in any international trade without going hand by hand by people such as Enterprise Florida, Mr. Joseph Bell there, even though we stopped loving each other very much, but we fight a lot. But this gentleman has really helped me out. Dan Burek from the U.S. Commercial Services. Just to give you an idea, within my 6-year tenure with Amalie, I've done 39 gold keys. Wow. So I've done, these guys have been my right arm, my left arm, my two legs. It is impossible for you to do business internationally if you do not have people like Joseph Bell, like Dan Burek, Andrew Campbell. It just doesn't work this way. You can't go to any of these countries without. And I've been brave enough to do that, and oh boy, I've made big mistakes because I end up in very scary situations. Yeah. But other than that, thank you. Amalie is a great company. It's a family-based company. The 4 brothers who own the company still run the company. We have 5 generations within our company. They really have a corporate culture where they take care of you. They want families to work together. Although I have good and bad stories about that. My 3 years ago, the president of the company never had a secretary, never had an assistant. And one time I'm in Egypt and I get a phone call from my wife and she says, Charles, I got good news and bad news. I said, what good news and bad news? She said, oh, I forgot to tell you that your office is no longer your office. It's my office. Effective 2 weeks ago, I'm the new executive assistant to the president. I said, oh man, this is really not happening. So yes, my wife works in the company as well. She's my boss at home and she's my boss in the office. But I really wanted to tell that their family-oriented culture has been exceptional. I've never worked in any company like that. We do business, as I indicated, in over 120 plus countries. We start by just meeting face to face, and now Joseph has presented platforms and U.S. Commercial Services with where you got to do this virtual, and it's hard. My territory, it seemed interesting, but 51% of my sales is in the Middle East. So I sell oil to oil producing countries. Now, I don't have a formula. It's probably because my boss says, well, one time I asked him, why me? He says, Charles, it's simple. Have you looked yourself in the mirror? And that you're not the typical gringo. You're not 6 foot tall, blonde and blue eyes. You go in, you look like Arab, you go there and you blend, whatever. So it's been a blessing, and that's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jan, share a little bit with Dixie Belle on that story.
That was a great story. Thank you for sharing. I've always wondered about that. I just know Emily from the arena, so
Yeah.
I never knew all of that. That's great. So my name is Suzanne Fulford, and I'm the owner and founder of Dixie Belle Paint Company. And what Dixie Belle Paint is, it's a chalk mineral paint, so it's like home decor, that kind of thing. And I started doing this about 6-7 years ago. I didn't have any money, and I wanted to update my home. And so I started painting my furniture. And you'd have to sand and prep and prime and do all of that stuff. And it was a lot of work. But again, I didn't have any money, so I had my sweat equity to put into that. Was kind of on Pinterest when kind of Pinterest was up and coming at the time, and I noticed this brand of paint where you didn't have to do all of that stuff. You didn't have to do all of that work before, you just painted. And I was like, that's got me all over it. But I went to look to buy it, and it actually was really, really expensive. So, like I said, didn't have any money. I decided that it's kind of got to be a little bit like cooking. And I just started playing around with different things. And I came up with a formula that worked really, really well. And so I started painting my furniture with it. I ran out of furniture to paint my house. So I started going to thrift stores and garage sales and bought furniture that way and painted it and would sell it on Craigslist. I got an Etsy store, started doing that. Shipping furniture around the country is very difficult. So I looked for something that was not quite as hard to do. And I found a spot close to me in like a little antique store that you see kind of popping up, reused furniture and recycle, upcycle, that kind of thing. So I got a booth in there and I started selling my furniture really well. So while I was in that store, I also had to work like one weekend a month or something just to help out. So that was fine with me because then I knew what people were looking for and I could go out and find it and paint it and sell it. So it worked out really well. But a lot of people were coming in, well, where do you get this paint? Where do you get this paint? So we were sending them down to Tampa to buy the paint. And I said to the owner, I said, this is really kind of dumb. Why don't you look into bringing a paint line in? She was like, oh, okay. So there weren't that many companies at that time making that kind of paint. And she called a couple of them, and the startup was a lot for a small business. It was like a minimum of $5,000. And these are just like little antique stores, mom and pop places. They don't have that much money. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. I know how much this stuff costs. That's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that much. So whatever. Then I was like, well, wait a second. Maybe I'll do it for you. I'll make mine and I'll put it in here and sell it and you can start selling it. Well, she didn't like that idea, which shocked me. But she said no because she wasn't going to make, she only made a percentage off of my sales. She didn't want to make such a small percentage. So I was like, well, I'll sell it to you. And then you can resell it. And she still didn't like that idea. So it's kind of, anyway, she's no longer in business. So, so I was like, all right, well, at this point,
I knew I had a really good product. My background is in sales, so I knew I could sell it, but I didn't know how to do anything else. That was kind of the mystery. But what I did is I opened up a small shop with a friend, and we painted furniture, and I sold my paint. And I was kind of testing the market to see if it was as good as I thought it was and if people would come back, because I knew I could sell it, but I was really looking for people to come back. So we opened, started selling furniture, started selling paint, and people started coming back to buy the paint and tell their friends to buy the paint and do all of that. So that's how I started. And I eventually sold enough furniture to get all the ingredients for the paint until I could make enough money on the paint to just do the paint. So that's what I started doing, and that's how I kind of built it up. Then what I did is I went on Facebook and started calling a whole bunch of different little stores all around the country to see if they were interested. And a lot of them were, so I would send them samples and do it that way. So that's how I started. And I just started little by little by little, just kind of doing the next thing and figuring it all out. I'm sorry? Well, officially we started in January 2014. I say summer 2013 is when I was really.
So you got started cold calling on Facebook.
Yeah.
Now, right now, you're exporting how many countries?
Well, I know. So we have a distributor in the UK, which distributes to all of the EU, and then all of the UK, and then one in New Zealand, which does New Zealand and Australia, and then one in Canada. And then we have interest from Turkey, Israel, a lot of different places. So
that's 6 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I have to say, it was important for us because we were in a niche market. I think being in a niche market, it helps you focus on what you need and what you want. That for us was worked well. We also started at a time where it was advertising on Facebook was free, Pinterest was starting up, Instagram, all of that. And what we have is very visual. So we were able to really use those platforms, and we didn't pay for advertising for years, because we didn't have any, we just kept reinvesting. But, specifically with PEDC, what really helped me there, I started with co-starters, and I was already I was doing the business at that point, but it helped affirm that I was going the right direction. The other thing that really helped me was the roundtable, the CEO roundtable, which unfortunately is not around anymore, but that to me was invaluable. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom with a sales background, and I'd never run a business. I didn't know what to do. So having Mike was there, and he was awesome, along with everybody else. We actually still meet separately, and just that kind of support and knowing that other people are actually dealing with the same things you're dealing with at different stages of their company was really, really good. So we continue to grow. We're adding new lines. We're adding, obviously, new customers and all of that, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. So, we are all family too. It's like my whole family works there. I was worried with my husband at first. We were both a little worried, but we don't really see each other, so that's fine. And he's great. And we call ourselves a three-legged stool. It's me, my husband, and my chief marketing officer, and she is amazing. So, without each of us, the whole stool would tip over. So it works really, really well. We're up to 80 employees. So we're, expanding constantly. And so we have a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a little poster child for aggressive growth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're growing fast, but we're managing.
Maya, you want to tell us a little bit about the company?
Sure. I'm Maya Williams, so I'm the owner and founder of Morgana Company. It's a small line of skincare. So I have to say that I started 14 years ago. I am a cosmetic chemist by trade. So I've been in the industry for 28 years now, I have to say. And I had the privilege to work in Belgium for 5 years for a very big company where I was able to travel all throughout Europe, and we would train other chemists such as people like L'Oreal, Meyersdorf, all of those big companies. I've been there, spent 5 years in Belgium doing that. And then I got divorced, and I ended up staying when my husband traveled back to the US. So it became very, very difficult to manage a high type of job the way that I did because it demanded a lot. You have to be with the clients all the time, you have to travel. And my youngest was 4 years old. So I started to become very stressed about where were my priorities. We have to be with a job that I love, travel, customers. We got to organize trainings for the customers, pick out any restaurant we like, rent out castles for the customers to be entertained. So it was like, okay, it was a then also have the company car, the phone, all of those extras that really made life fun. But then I also had 3 kids at home. So the oldest was 10 years old, and the youngest being 4 years old. I ended up having to make a choice, but I still wanted to be able to earn my living while taking care of my kids. Turns out that I had been for years making formulations for my family, for friends, and one of them in particular went very well for my aunt. So she would call me. I have to say I'm originally from Haiti. So she would call me from Haiti and like, no, can you send a little bit more of that product? I'm gonna need like a bigger quantity because that little jar is just not enough. I'm like, what's going on? Why are they asking me for this particular one? And so this literally was the one product that I now call the elixir. So I'll just tell you the name to make it easier. So this elixir that I was preparing, if you want to believe that for 1 full year, I was giving it away to my family. I was giving it away. I would put my son on his bicycle and send him around the neighborhood to give to all of our friends. Because I made so much, I was just, just leave it here. And it took me an entire year before I actually tried it. I've always so busy making product that you just think, okay, this is really the case of you're not using your own stuff. And the few days that I finally decided to try it, was driving and I looked at my forehead and I had to stop. And I called my best friend. I said, Judith, this thing works. And she's like, yeah, I've been telling you. So, needless to say that in my kitchen with my 3 kids in Belgium, I started Morgana's Alchemy. And the name came from my ex-husband, who was always participating. Some of the names of the products, my kids helped to do it. So my kids have already, they know how to be chemists, they know how to be salespeople, they know how to do production, all of those things. But before they were 10 years old, they've already been doing this. And we ended up coming back to the US. That's where I officially started the Morgana's Alchemy. I registered the company, all of that nice stuff. Then turns out that slowly but surely, my greater success came from exporting. So we make everything here in Pasco County, and we export to France on the French shopping network. Took me about a year and a half to get that that contract. Lost about 5 or 6 pounds walking through Paris for a week and a half trying to open up a bank account for my business, because a lot of the European companies won't do business with you if you are not registered with you. So I ended up forming a Morgana's Alchemy France with a Champs-Élysées address. If you want, so we're pretty prestigious, yes. But that entire thing, back then, it was in 2009, when I contacted the French shopping network. By the time we started doing business, it was January 2011. And that's how long it took to be able to register my business, being able to get a bank account, because if you are not a resident, or it's a very different story when you are just walking into a bank in Europe and trying to open up an account if you don't have the proper documentation, what they call the proper documentation, because the company was already registered, but still it was at a time where, okay, I'd had some things like, we don't know you, if you're not a terrorist, I walked through Paris, and I walked, and I walked, and I walked to get that bank account for at least 10 days. Tried every single bank. Some of them wanted us to deposit 20,000 euros as a make sure. I don't know what it was, that there were so many different rules, so many regulations. Ended up that you can get a bank account through the post office in France. So that's what I ended up doing. 6 pounds later, tell you thank you. And started doing business with M6 Boutique, the shopping channel, and that has turned out to be one of the greatest marketing ways for us to do business, because other people see on TV. And so other shopping networks contacted.
Other shopping networks in like the EU?
Out of the UK. At one point we were doing business in Canada, but they went out of business. So basically 80% of our business is export. And then I started to meet with Joseph, who I have to admit, thank you, because I have, I was telling my team, which I have to acknowledge, these 2 girls, Emily and Taylor, I didn't tell them that I was doing this until Tuesday afternoon. And they're like, well, what? Because I just, some things just go beyond my head. And then they are marketing, SEO, and all of that. Of course, we have to come. So thank you, girls. And that's the type of person I am. A lot of things just go beyond my head, and I don't think of contacting, because I'm always so busy trying to resolve issues on my own that I don't think of reaching out. And Joseph has to come, Maya, do you know we have these grants? Maya, do you know you can do this, there, this? Jenny, same thing. They're like, for some of the things that were being offered through the commercial service, we had to do it last minute. Oh my God, September 30th is coming up right now. Let's get these things in, to try to do business with China. And I have to say thank you to people who basically just wake up. There are other things that you can be doing. And we get them done, thank God, but, yes, that's it. Now, we had started out with green products, and I have a line of 30, all formulated, designed by myself. And so what else? Oh, organic, plant stem cells, very much advanced technology.
Wow, that's great. These are 3 great stories. I mean, it's very detailed, so I really appreciate it. Just in the interest of time, I'll open it up to Q&A. If anybody has any questions, because this has been done so much time. Please feel free to raise your hand. We'll get a microphone.
Well, I don't need a microphone. I probably use for oil. But I can tell you that I have used this paints because we have classes that start to market. And I did the wine bottle with the lights and I bought all the paints, but I didn't have the class. I'm gonna do that again because I just absolutely love.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm very excited to have it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
Maya, I have Maya's product as well. The rinse and you have to get your hand sanitizer back to the market.
It's still available.
She has a wonderful, lovely hand sanitizer. I think their stories are fascinating, and it's just a real testament to what we can do. That's what I'm saying. All.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Maya, where do we find your product here? Hopefully.
Here it's all e-commerce. I mean, we ship the same day. Everything just gets it gets there very quickly.
But it goes through retailers or does it directly by you?
We sell to spas. We are on fair.com where the spas buy from us wholesale, and that's where it's been the most successful. The U.S. market has been pretty difficult when it comes to.
Mike, I just want to say, I met Maya on a Gold Key trip.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Have you say you've been on a Gold Key trip?
Me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
I wanted to start that way, but then all of this stuff happened, so, but I definitely would love to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
One day.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We have some gifts from Hamlet.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is Deborah Wilkinson for all of you folks on behalf of the PASCO EDC.
Okay, products called the Elixir. My full synthetic top line is called the Elixir also.
Prior to settling in Tampa Bay, after moving to France, Spain, Dominican Republic, and Venezuela. He's a 35-year resident of the Tampa Bay area. He served the community through appointments with various state and local boards like Dr. Bush, Chris, and Scott, including the state Green Ladies, the Trails Council, and the Pinellas and Clove River Basin Board, Southwest Florida Development Management. Catherine served on the boards of All Children Possible, Red Cross, PASCO Foundation, and many other civil associations. Catherine is a member of Global Tampa Bay and works closely with PASCO, where she founded and served as chair of the EDC committee, and remains actively involved with the PASCO EDC Untitled. She's a member of NACO. Since 2016, served a second consecutive term chair of NACO International Economic Development PASCO Committee, vice chair in 2016-2017. In addition, she served a second consecutive term as vice chair of NACO Intermediate Economic Workforce Development, TEWD, Steering Committee, Workforce Development Subcommittee. I can go on and on. These are just the highlights of many of her accomplishments. Please welcome Commissioner Scotty.
And I'm gonna go quick because, we've had a very full morning, and I'm sure you all have places to go, but it's been a real delight to be here today, that we could pull this off, and this time, I think, is fantastic. I want to thank the PASCO ETC and Jenny. I know you worked so hard on this, I have hundreds of emails from you, and I just know she worked really hard, and I really want to thank you very much. So thank you, Jenny. I want to thank the rest of the PEC members and the global, my global competitiveness committee members, and maybe we have two ladies that need to join us. And the rest of our partners for supporting us here today at the Businesses Growing Global event. So our committee here in PASCO is made up of various businesses. They're large and they're small. Vigo is here with Metler Toledo, a very big company, but then we also have small companies. And our mission is to help our community thrive. And we make connections for FDI. We make connections to help our local businesses grow and to help our businesses stay here in the Tampa Bay area, because that's what we would like them to do. So a number of years ago, I saw where Pinellas and Hillsborough were working together on an international effort. And at the time, PASCO was just a small little kind of sleepy county. And so we weren't big enough to really be involved in a global or Tampa Bay effort. And so we kind of started our own international effort here. And Enterprise Florida was kind enough to take me along to their mission to Peru, and I got a little taste of what all these people do. And I'm very proud of where we are from then to now, and we are a team in the Tampa Bay area, and we're all working together, and I just appreciate that so much. So a little bit about me, as he said, I am very involved locally, on the state level, and regionally. And NACO is the National Association of Counties. So I am now vice chair of the International Economic Development Task Force. And in that role, I help other counties around the country learn how to do international economic development, how to start things like this in their area. And we've been really helpful, I think, helping a lot of local governments learn how to help their local businesses step off into the big, big world. I want to tell them, the Mexican dignitary, that I serve on ICPAC. That's a council out of the White House, the Intergovernmental Policy Advisory Council. And it's my role there as one of 3 commissioners in the country to bring the voice of local government to all the trade negotiations. So I just sent you my little update that I got on the Brazil. I said the Brazil dignitary, my little update I just received yesterday on the Brazil agreement. So I did speak up for Florida on the specialty produce farmers. I am a blueberry farmer, so we have our challenges, and I'm very glad that we're working this out with Mexico. So I hope you all had a wonderful morning. I found it fascinating. I took lots of pictures. I can't wait for your presentations. I know we're going to help local businesses in Pasco County grow, and we're going to deepen our relationships with the countries that were represented here today. And so with that, I want to say thank you so much for coming today, and I hope you found this informative. And I want all our local businesses to know and to be excited about the resources that we showed you here today, because when I first learned about what our government does, it blew me away. So many people still don't know that you have all these opportunities out here and they're free. But they're not exactly 100% free, your taxes paid for. But so take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Call the PPC, call all these agencies that you heard about here today. And as you heard Maya say, 80% of her business is not here. It's in another country. It's in the other countries. And so that's important for you. I think that's a really important takeaway from this morning, that the world is your market. Don't just leave it to your own. Thank you very much. I'll just leave. I have done that before, so I have experience. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Deborah, as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.